free college football picks. This is action here for Saturday, September 30th. Tony T, our college football pick show here for Saturday's action. We have all 49 games. Before we get into just a couple things, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We have free college football picks updated all season long. Free picks every day from all the major sports like NFL, like Major League Baseball. Of course, we're going to have NBA not too far away, less than a month away now, a couple weeks away from hockey. And of course, lots of live shows over our channel, making it a great time to subscribe. And also, if you would support our channel with that like, that thumbs up, greatly appreciate it. Then visit Tony'sPicks.com. We're a multi-capper site showcasing top cappers in our industry. Click the links to the hot cappers. Get signed up to our long-term passes. Hot cappers like Ramon Scott for the year. Joseph Schultz. Collins have been hot the last 30 days, as well as Ramon. Yours truly. Nick Fartina has been doing well. Of course, Hollywood Sam up here up with the leaderboards, as well as Nick Lagarettos. Collins Brown with the monster day yesterday, 5-0. Daniel Walsichuk, Tim Irwin, Ben Ruhala, just to name a few. Mindy up there. Click the links. Get signed up to our long-term passes. You'll find our latest premium picks here, center of the page. Our tabs for our best bets, our $15 premium pick, our multi-packs. We now offer player props and team props, so keep the eye on those here on our prop page. We'll be locked and loaded here for Saturday college football. Of course, props now, individual plays, and multi-packs sold at profit guarantee, meaning they must turn a profit. The amount you purchase is credited back to your account for site credits. That is profit guarantee. You may also purchase our plays a la carte from the pick ticker with team versus team information. You'll find the individual player props for sale as well on our pick ticker. And you can save 20% off all premium pick packages when you use that promo code TonyT at checkout. You can access our page by clicking the link you see there in the description. Click the All Cappers tab, get signed up. Always love to hear from you guys, so post your picks in the comments. We are looking for cappers, so apply on the home page. All right, let's go ahead. Let's get this one started. Florida and Kentucky college football pick. Here we go. This is action on Saturday. Florida improved to 3-1, a 22-7 home victory to Charlotte. The Gators rushed for 4 yards per attempt. They limited the 49ers to under 3 yards a carry on the ground with 133 yards passing on 25 attempts. The Gators had a -2 turnover margin. Graham Mertz, 20 of 23 for 259 yards with a touchdown. He averaged 11.3 yards per attempt there on the air. Stalled drives really resulted in 5 field goals. Now Kentucky 4-0, a 45-28 road win at Vanderbilt. The Wildcats built that 24-zip lead early in the fourth quarter. The team rushed for 162 yards. They held the Commanders here Commodores, I should say, to under 4 yards per rush with 231 passing yards on 47 attempts. Wildcats picked off 3 passes with two going for touchdowns. Devin Leary, an NC State transfer, 15 of 29 for 205 yards with a touchdown and 2 interceptions. He's thrown a pick in every game. Commodores played without 3 starters in the secondary, missing just 3 minutes into the game. Wildcats have won the previous 2 meetings and covered 5 of 6 with a push. Kentucky is 21st in total defense and holding foes at 2.8 yards a carry. The Gators in their lone road game were beaten at Utah behind a backup quarterback 24-11. Play here Kentucky -3. USC and Colorado college football pick. Here we go. Action on Saturday. USC improved to 4-0 after that 42-28 road victory to Arizona State. Trojans rushed for 9 yards a carry in the game. They did allow nearly 3 yards per rush to the Sun Devils with 263 passing yards on 42 attempts. Caleb Williams, 20 of 31 for 322 yards with 3 touchdowns. He did average 10.4 yards per pass attempt and 2 rushing touchdowns. Trojans were flagged 10 times for 85 yards. Colorado fell to 3-1. 42-6 road defeat in Oregon. Buffs were down 35-zip at the half. They allowed over 6 yards per rush to the Ducks with 282 passing yards on 35 attempts. Shooter Sanders here, 23 of 33, 159 yards with a touchdown. He did average only 4.8 yards per attempt. USC 73rd in the nation in total defense by allowing 364 yards a game. The yards passing allowed to a down Arizona State is a concern. Well, we see some line movement. We are using live lines here on the show. So the play here will be on Colorado here at +21.5. Clemson and Syracuse college football pick. Here we go. Action on Saturday. Clemson fell to 2-2, a 31-24 home defeat to Florida State in overtime. Tigers rushed for 3.5 yards a carry on the ground. They held the Seminoles to only 22 yards rushing with 289 yards passing on 37 attempts. Cade Klubnik hit on 25 of 38 for 283 yards with a touchdown. He averaged 7.4 yards per attempt and had a rushing touchdown. Syracuse 4-0 after their 29-16 home victory to Army. Orange rallied in the second half after being held to 3 first-half points and no third-down conversions. The team gained 4.5 yards a carry on the ground. They limited the Black Knights to under 3 yards a carry with 145 yards passing on 21 attempts. Garrett Schrader hit on 21 of 26 for 245 yards with a touchdown and interception. He averaged 9.4 yards per rush with 50 rushing yards and a touchdown. Clemson has won 5 straight, but the Orange has covered 5 of 6 in this series. Orange sit 15th in the nation in total defense by allowing 274 yards a game and holding opponents at 2.5 yards per rush and a 5.5 yards per pass attempt. Tigers really struggle with efficiency in the passing game. Orange hit 67% of their throws with a 9.1 yards per attempt average. Play here Syracuse plus the 7. Texas A&M and Arkansas. College football pick. Here we go. Action on Saturday. Game is played in neutral field in Arlington, Texas. Texas A&M 3-1 after their 27-10 home victory to Auburn. The Aggies rushed for 209 yards. Now defensively, they held Auburn to 3.5 yards a carry on the ground with only 56 passing yards on 23 attempts. Connor Wegman hit on 8 of 14 for 70 yards with 5 yards per attempt. He suffered a lower leg injury, doubtful for this one. LSU transfer Max Johnson now. He relieved, hit 7 of 11 for 123 yards with 2 touchdowns. He averaged 11.2 yards per pass attempt. Johnson saw action in 18 games while at LSU in 4 games last season. Arkansas fell to 2-2, a 34-31 road defeat at LSU. Razorbacks rushed for 4 yards a carry. Defensively, they did allow over 6 yards per rush to the Tigers with 320 passing yards on 29 attempts. KJ Jefferson, 21 of 31, 289 yards with 3 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. He averaged 9.3 yards per attempt and rushed for 48 yards. Backup with experience likely under center for the Aggies. Jefferson's mobility a plus. Now, in the Aggies' lone game away from home, they were crushed to Miami, giving up 48 points and 451 yards. Play here Arkansas plus 7. Penn State and Northwestern college football pick for action on Saturday. Penn State 4-0. A 31-zip home victory to Iowa. The Nittany Lions rushed for 215 yards. They limited the Hawkeyes to nearly 1 yard per rush with 56 passing yards on 16 attempts. The Lions had a +4 turnover margin by recovering 4 fumbles. Duelar went 25 of 37 for 166 yards with 4 touchdowns. He averaged 4.5 yards per attempt. Northwestern is 2-2 after their 37-34 home victory in Minnesota in overtime. The Wildcats outscored the Golden Gophers 21-zip in the final quarter to force that overtime period. They rushed for 3 yards a carry. Northwestern did allow 244 rushing yards to Minnesota with 191 yards passing on 19 attempts. Ben Bryant hit on 33 of 49 for 396 yards and 4 touchdowns. He averaged 8.8 yards per attempt. Penn State's defense outstanding. The Wildcats passing game ignited last week. Bryant plays in his third. Bryant is playing for his 3rd team in 3 seasons, so there can be a comfort level now entering Game 5 of the season. He played in Cincinnati last year. Play here Northwestern plus 27. Buffalo and Akron college football pick. Here we go. Action on Saturday. Buffalo fell to 0-4, a 45-38 road defeat in Louisiana. Bulls scored all 38 points in the second half. The team rushed for 178 yards. They surrendered 269 yards on the ground to the Raging Cajuns with 249 passing on 29 attempts. Cole Snyder, 17 of 34 for 198 yards with a touchdown and 2 interceptions. He averaged only 5.8 yards per pass attempt. Akron 1-3 after a 29-27 road overtime defeat to Indiana Hoosiers. The Zips rushed for 264 yards against a Power 5 team. They limited the Hoosiers to under 3 yards per rush with 190 passing yards on 26 attempts. DJ Irons, 22 of 35 for 194 yards and 2 interceptions. He rushed for 141 yards and 2 touchdowns. Akron, 118th in total offense with only 3.4 yards per rush, 5.9 yards per pass attempt. Bulls offense puts the check mark in their corner here. They do have a high volume passing game, and their 38 they put up on Louisiana, encouraging play here. Buffalo plus 2.5. Louisiana and Minnesota college football pick. Here we go. This is action on Saturday. Louisiana is 3-1 with their 45-38 home victory to Buffalo. Raging Cajuns rushed for 269 yards. They allowed 4 yards per rush to the Bulls with 195 passing yards on 35 attempts. Zian Chris, 22 of 29 for 249 yards with a touchdown and 2 interceptions. He averaged 8.6 yards per attempt and had a 70 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns. Chris is in for Ben Wooldridge, who is out with a foot injury. Minnesota fell to 2-2 after their 37-34 road overtime defeat to Northwestern. Wildcats Golden Gophers blew a 21-point lead after 3 quarters. The team rushed for 244 yards. On defense, they held the Wildcats at just over 3 yards per rush, but 400 passing yards on 51 attempts. Ethan Kalakmanis hit on 14 of 19 for 191 yards with 2 touchdowns. He averaged 10.1 yards per attempt with 34 yards on the ground. This is the first game for Louisiana against a Power 5 team. But the Raging Cajuns here are 18th in total offense. Golden Gophers showed weakness in pass defense in the last game. Offensively, this is not an efficient passing attack either here for Minnesota. 54% completions, 5.9 yards per pass attempt. Play here Louisiana plus the 10. South Alabama and James Madison college football pick for action on Saturday. South Alabama 2-2 with that 34-30 home defeat to Central Michigan. They blew a 14-zip lead after 1 quarter. The Jaguars rushed for under 5 yards a carry. They limited the Chippewas to just over 3 yards per rush with 230 passing yards on 31 attempts. Casey Bradley 17-27 for 254 yards and 2 touchdowns. James Madison improved to 4-0. A 45-38 road win at Utah State. Dukes rushed for 4 yards a carry in the game. They held the Aggies to just over 3 yards per run with 402 passing yards on 49 attempts. JMU had 5 turnovers and forced 3 by the Aggies. Jordan McLeod at 23 of 34 for 364 yards with 4 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. He averaged 10.7 yards per pass attempt and had 2 rushing touchdowns. Lots of big plays allowed by both teams. Duke's rush defense outstanding, holding teams at 1.4 yards per carry. Gotta respect the Duke's victory to Troy and Virginia, both on the road. Jaguars 112th in the nation here in yards allowed per pass attempt defensively in the country by allowing 8.4 yards per attempt. Play here James Madison minus 4.5. UAB and Tulane college of football pick. Here we go. Action on Saturday. UAB fell to 1-3, a 49-21 road defeat to Georgia. The Blazers rushed for over 3 yards a carry. Offensively, they allowed the Bulldogs 188 yards rushing with 394 passing yards on 40 attempts. UAB a +2 turnover margin. Jacob Zeno 32 of 51, 250 yards with 2 touchdowns and an interception. He also contributed with a rushing touchdown. Now Tulane was 3-1 on the year, a 36-7 home victory to FCS Nicholls State. The loss came at home to Ole Miss 37-20 with 2 other victories to mid-major programs. Michael Pratt returned in the win against this FCS opponent following a knee injury. In Pratt's lone game against an FBS opponent, he completed 14 of 15 for 294 yards and 4 touchdowns against South Alabama. He ran for 39 yards. He is in the 4th season as a starter. Blazers are inexperienced on defense with 4 starters back. UAB airs it out 43 times a game, sitting 3rd in the nation. High completion rate of 75%, but very low yards per attempt at 7. UAB, poor defensive team, allowing 430 yards a game, 6.6 yards per rush. Possibility of a high-scoring game is high here. The play here, UAB and Tulane over 55.5. Utah State and UConn college football pick. Here we go. This is action on Saturday. Utah State fell to 1-3, a 45-38 home defeat to James Madison. The Aggies rushed for over 3 yards a carry. They surrendered 4.5 yards per rush to the Dukes with 364 yards passing on 34 attempts. Aggies did have a +2 turnover margin. McKay Hillstead hit on 25 of 47 for 399 yards with 4 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. He averaged 8.5 yards per pass attempt and took 5 sacks. Now UConn fell to 0-4, 41-7 home defeat to Duke. Huskies rushed for under 3 yards a carry. They did limit the Blue Devils' ground attack to nearly 3 yards per attempt with 248 yards passing on 34 attempts. Daquan Roberson 13 of 28 for 114 yards with 4 yards per rush average. Huskies have been held to 17 or fewer points in that game. Actually, Roberson was 4 yards per pass attempt. They're very inefficient. Huskies have been held to 17 or fewer points in 6 straight, dating back to last season. Now the Aggies are the better offensive prowess, showing better offensive prowess right now of these two teams. They are running for 5.3 yards per attempt. Connecticut 130th in the nation in yards per play offensively with only 4.4 yards per attempt. Play here Utah State minus 5.5. Georgia and Auburn college football pick for action on Saturday. Georgia improved to 4-0, a 49-21 home victory. UAB Bulldogs rushed for 188 yards. They limited the Blazers to just over 3 yards a carry with 250 passing yards on 51 attempts. Carson Beck, 22 of 32 for 338 yards with 3 touchdowns. He averaged over 10 yards per pass attempt. Auburn fell to 3-1, a 27-10 road defeat at Texas A&M. Tigers ran for 3.5 yards a carry. They surrendered 209 yards to the Aggies with 193 passing yards on 25 attempts. Michigan State transfer Peyton Thorne, 6 of 12 for 44 yards passing, only 3.7 yards per attempt. Auburn allowed 7 sacks in the game. Georgia's won 6 straight against Auburn with 5 wins by 17 or greater points. Bulldogs have the 13th ranked offense in college football and sit 18th on defense by allowing 282 yards a game. Tigers averaging just 6.9 yards per pass attempt offensively, ranking 95th in the nation. Auburn won't keep up with the Georgia scoring here. Play here Georgia minus 16.5. Arizona State and Cal college football pick. Here we go. Action on Saturday. All right, Arizona State fell to 1-3, a 42-28 home defeat to USC. Sun Devils rushed for under 3 yards a carry. ASU allowed 9 yards per rush to the Trojans with 322 passing yards on 31 attempts. Notre Dame transfer Drew Pine at 21 of 36 for 221 yards with 2 touchdowns and an interception. He averaged 6.1 yards per attempt. California is 2-2, a 59-32 road defeat at Washington. Golden Bears were down 45-12 at the half. The team rushed for 4 yards a carry. They surrendered over 4.5 yards per rush to the Huskies with 389 yards passing on 32 attempts. Cal had a -2 turnover margin. NC State transfer Ben Finley, 17 of 32 for 207 yards with 2 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. He averaged 6.5 yards per attempt. Pine, a massive upgrade at quarterback for Arizona State. California, 28th in the nation in total offense. The Golden Bears secondary got torched last week. ASU struggled with pass defense. Play here Arizona State and Cal over 50 points. Michigan and Nebraska college football pick for Saturday. Michigan 4-0, a 31-7 home victory at Rutgers. Wolverines rushed for 201 yards. They held the Scarlet Knights at 3 yards per rush with 180 passing on 21 attempts. J.J. McCarthy connected on 15 of 21 passes for 214 yards and a touchdown. He averaged 10.2 yards per pass attempt and rushed for 51 yards. Nebraska improved to 2-2, a 28-14 home victory at Louisiana Tech. Cornhuskers ran for 312 yards. They limited the Bulldogs to just over 2 yards per carry on the ground, but 292 passing yards on 42 attempts. No quarterback sacks for Nebraska here. Jeff Sims has missed the past 2 games with an injured ankle, questionable here. His backup Heinrich Harburg is questionable as well. So we could see QB3 Chuba Purdy here, who saw action in 6 games last season, but averaged only 3.1 yards per pass attempt on 48 throws, but a threat to run. Both defenses are outstanding form, with Michigan allowing 231 yards a game, Nebraska 298. Cornhuskers quarterback situation concerning. The Wolverines have been run heavy. They only average 57 plays a game. Play here Michigan and Nebraska under 40 points. Houston versus Texas Tech college football pick for Saturday. Houston 2-2, a 38-7 home victory to Sam Houston State. Cougars rushed for 5 yards a carry. They limited the Bearcats to 2 yards per rush with 126 passing yards on 23 attempts. Houston had a +2 turnover margin. Donovan Smith, 31 of 40 passing, 294 yards and a touchdown. He averaged 7.4 yards per rush. Texas Tech 1-3 after their 20-13 road defeat at West Virginia. Red Raiders rushed for 160 yards. They allowed nearly 4 yards per rush to the Mountaineers with 99 passing yards on 22 attempts. Baron Morton hit on 13 of 37 passes for 158 yards with a touchdown. He averaged only 4.3 yards per pass attempt. The Red Raiders are 92nd in the nation by gaining only 5.4 yards per play. The quarterback play is poor, 6.1 yards per attempt, which is 96th in the nation. Red Raiders are defending well, though, and the Cougars' passing attack has not been efficient. Play here Houston, Texas Tech under 51.5. Virginia and Boston College football pick for action on Saturday. Virginia fell to 0-4 after that 24-21 home defeat here to NC State. Cavaliers rushed for under 3 yards a carry. They allowed 4 yards per rush to the Wolfpack with 180 passing yards on 31 attempts. Tony Muskett missed the past 3 games due to shoulder injury, but listed as probable for Saturday. At Tennessee, he completed 9 of 17 for 94 yards, 5.5 yards per attempt. A Monmouth transferred. He completed 64% of his throws last year with 9 yards per pass attempt. It was a -2 turnover margin for the Cavaliers. Boston College 1-3 after their 56-28 road defeat to Louisville. Eagles rushed for just over 4 yards a carry with producing in the passing game. They did allow 194 rushing yards to Louisville with 388 yards passing on 21 attempts. Thomas Castellanos, 17-33 for 265 yards and 3 touchdowns. He rushed for 49 yards and a touchdown. Cavaliers are 131st in the nation in yards per rush at 2.2. Musket, an FCS transfer, has only one game in the FBS. His backup threw 2 interceptions last week. But BC is allowing 10 yards per pass attempt. Castellanos, a dual threat for the Eagles. The difference here, Virginia's quarterback just doesn't stack up as well. Play here, Boston College, -3. Arkansas State and UMass college football pick. Here we go. Action on Saturday. Arkansas State 2-2 after a 44-37 home victory at Southern Miss. Red Rose rushed for 192 yards. They surrendered 234 yards rushing to the Golden Eagles with 215 passing on 36 attempts. Jalen Rayner hit on 11 of 21 passes for 233 yards with 3 touchdowns and an interception. He averaged 11 yards per attempt. Rayner rushed for 97 yards and 2 touchdowns. UMass 1-4 after their 34-31 home defeat to New Mexico in overtime. Minutemen rushed for nearly 4.5 yards a carry. They did limit the Lobos to 4 yards per rush with 192 passing yards on 17 attempts. Tyson Fomachon missed the 3rd straight game due to undisclosed injury. Carlos Davis goes 11 of 20 for 196 yards and a touchdown. He averaged 9.8 yards per pass attempt and rushed for 42 yards. Red Wolves showed good offensive balance in that win to Southern Miss. They've had a tough schedule early on facing Memphis and Oklahoma. UMass losing games to a down New Mexico. That's the major concern here. Play here Arkansas State here at plus the 1.5. Eastern Michigan versus Central Michigan college football pick. Here we go for action on Saturday. Eastern Michigan fell to 2-2 with that 21-0 road defeat at Jacksonville State. That first-year FCS team, the FBS team, I should say. The Eagles rushed for under 2 yards a carry. They allowed 295 rushing yards to the Gamecocks with 93 passing on 19 attempts. EMU had a -3 turnover margin. Austin Smith, 6 of 11 passing for 53 yards and an interception. He averaged 4.8 yards per attempt and was sacked 6 times. Central Michigan 2-2 after their 34-30 road victory at South Alabama. Chippewas rushed for just over 3 yards a carry. They surrendered 151 rushing yards to the Jaguars with 254 passing on 27 attempts. Brigham Manuel completed 1 pass in the game, and after missing the previous week due to illness, Jesse Bowers saw the bulk work, hitting 19 of 30 for 224 yards and a touchdown. He averaged 7.5 yards per attempt, plus rushed for 55 yards and a touchdown. Eastern Michigan, 132nd in the nation in total offense by averaging only 240 yards a game. But the Chippewas sit 132nd in the nation defensively in yards allowed per play at 7.6 yards. Eagles are rushing for 4.1 yards per attempt, while the Chippewas are allowing nearly 5 yards a carry. Bauer has been more efficient at quarterback and his running ability encouraging. Play here Eastern Michigan plus 7.5. Miami, Ohio, and Kent college football pick for action on Saturday. Miami O improved to 3-1. A 62-20 home victory at FCS Delaware State. Redhawks have a win at Cincinnati by 7 and a loss at Miami by 35. Brett Gabbert is completing 61% of his passes this season with 9 touchdowns and 3 picks. He averages 10.2 yards per attempt and has rushed for 82 yards. Kent fell to 1-3, a 53-10 road defeat at Fresno State. Golden Flashes rushed for over 4 yards a carry, but they allowed nearly 5 yards per run to the Bulldogs with 370 passing yards on 34 attempts. Michael Limo, 8 of 14 completions, 102 yards. He averaged 6.8 yards per attempt. Kent is the least experienced team in all of college football. The Redhawks are rushing for 5.9 yards per attempt, and Kent is allowing 5.1 yards a carry on the ground. Golden Flash is 126th in the nation in total offense. Prefer the road team here with experience and healthy quarterback in Gabbert, who should exploit this Kent defense. Play here, Miami, Ohio, minus 14.5. Northern Illinois and Toledo college football pick Saturday. Northern Illinois 1-3 after a 22-14 home defeat to Tulsa. The Huskies rushed for 4 yards a carry. They did hold the Golden Hurricane to under 4 yards a carry with 102 passing yards on 20 attempts. Rocky Lombardi 4 of 6 for 31 yards and 5.2 yards per attempt. Ethan Hampton relieved and completed only 13 of 24 for 97 yards with a touchdown and 2 interceptions. He threw for 4.2 yards per pass attempt. Toledo went 3-1. a 49-31 home victory in Western Michigan. Rockets rushed for 269 yards. They surrendered 230 yards rushing to the Broncos with 163 passing yards on 26 attempts. Quan Finn suffered a shoulder injury. Carter off. Speculation is a long-term absence. Tucker Gleason relieved 6 of 10 passing for 109 yards and 2 touchdowns. He saw extended work last year, struggled though with just 47% completion rate. Backup quarterbacks could be going head-to-head here, but NIU, 132nd in the nation offensive yards per play, only 4.1 yards average. Toledo defended well and doing a better job with their offense. They are rushing for 5.3 yards per attempt. Huskies have been held to 14 points or fewer in 4 of their past 5 games dating back to last season. Play here will be on Toledo minus the 13. Old Dominion and Marshall college football pick. Here we go. Action on Saturday. All right, we've got Old Dominion 2-2 after a 10-9 home victory to FCS Texas A&M Commerce. They have a 7-point home win to Louisiana with losses to both Power 5 opponents in Virginia Tech and Wake Forest. Grant Wilson completing only 52% of his passes with 8 yards per pass attempt. He's had 7 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. Wilson's poor performance last week could mean a start for Jack Shields here, who outperformed Wells in the win against Texas A&M Commerce. He is a sophomore who threw for his first college pass last week against an FCS team. Marshall improved to 3-0, coming off a 24-17 home victory to Virginia Tech. The Ravens Herd rushed for 214 yards. They allowed 184 yards rushing to the Hokies with 159 passing on 35 attempts. Cam Fletcher hit on 16 of 27 passes for 166 yards with a touchdown and 2 interceptions. He averaged 6.1 yards per attempt. Old Dominion, inexperienced team with only 7 starters back. The quarterback situation is a concern for the Monarchs. The Ravens Herd is defending well. Old Dominion, 101st in the nation. Total offense play here, Marshall, minus 13.5. Kansas and Texas college football pick for Saturday. Kansas here. They improved to 4-0 at 38-27 home victory to BYU. Jayhawks rushed for 221 yards. They held the Cougars to 9 yards rushing, but 357 passing yards on 51 attempts and had a +3 turnover margin. Jayhawks turned the ball over 3 times into 21 points. Jalen Daniels hit on 14 of 19 passes for 130 yards and 3 touchdowns. He averaged 6.8 yards per pass attempt and rushed for 54 yards. Texas improved to 4-0 with that 38-6 road win at Baylor. The Longhorns rushed for 175 yards. They limited the Bears to 2 yards per rush with 305 yards passing on 53 attempts. Quinn Ewers, he hit on 18 of 23 for 293 yards with a touchdown. He averaged 12.7 yards per pass attempt and had a rushing touchdown. Kansas, in their lone road game, gave up 24 to a down Nevada team. Longhorns pounded the Jayhawks last year, 55-14 on the road. Play here, Texas minus 17. Baylor versus UCF college football pick. Here we go for Saturday. Baylor fell to 1-3 after their 38-6 home defeat to Texas. Bears rushed for 2 yards a carry. They surrendered 175 rushing yards to the Longhorns with 328 passing on 25 attempts. Blake Shapen missed the game due to knee injury in his day-to-day. Sawyer Robertson, 20 of 35 for 203 yards and an interception. He averaged 5.8 yards per attempt and has not been accurate. UCF moves to 3-1, a 44-31 road defeat to Kansas State. Knights rushed for 4 yards a carry. They surrendered 281 yards rushing to the Wildcats with 255 passing on 42 attempts. John Rice Plumlee missed the past 2 games due to injury and is questionable here. Timmy McClain hit on 14 of 24 for 264 yards with 3 touchdowns and an interception. He rushed for 15 yards but allowed 11 yards per pass attempt. Baylor's offense took a hit with Shapen injured. Knights rush defense to concern. McClain doesn't run like Plumlee did. Bears defense has performed well against the pass. Play here, Baylor plus 12.5. USF and Navy college football pick. Here we go. Action on Saturday. USF is 2-2 after their 42-29 home victory to the Rice Owls. Bulls rushed for 162 yards. They limited the Owls to 1 yard per rush with 491 passing yards on 50 attempts. Byron Brown hit on 22 of 29 for 435 yards and 2 touchdowns. He averaged 15 yards per attempt and rushed for 82 yards and a touchdown. Navy 1-2 after their 28-24 road defeat at Memphis. Midshipmen rushed for 299 yards on 50 carries. They surrendered 190 rushing yards to the Tigers with 218 passing on 35 attempts. Ty Lavatai hit on 10 of 19 for 133 yards and a touchdown. He had 14 rushes for 30 yards. Now, USF, good offensive team, averaging 440 yards. Navy's defense allowing nearly 5 yards to carry on the ground. USF is doing a good job in running defense this season. Play here USF plus the 4. Indiana and Maryland college football pick. This one here goes off on Saturday. All right. In this one, Indiana 2-2 after their 29-27 home overtime victory to Akron. Hoosiers rushed for under 3 yards a carry against this MAC school. They did allow 283 yards rushing to the Zips with 211 passing on 44 attempts. Tavon Jackson hit on 11-26 for 190 yards with a touchdown and a reception. He averaged 7.3 yards per pass attempt. Maryland 4-0 after that 31-9 road victory at Michigan State. Terrapins rushed for 4.5 yards a carry. They allowed over 3 yards a carry to the Spartans with 274 passing yards on 45 attempts. Talia Tagovailoa completed 21 of 36 passes for 223 yards with 3 touchdowns and an interception. He rushed for 37 yards and a touchdown. Tagovailoa averaged 6.2 yards per pass attempt. Hoosiers, they said 104th in total offense. The 490 yards they allowed to Akron, just a massive concern in this road game. Maryland is moving the football for 450 yards, 5.1 yards per rush to complete a really good passing attack. Indiana is 104th in the nation total offense. Play here, Maryland minus 14. Ball State versus Western Michigan in college football pick. Here we go. Action on Saturday. Ball State fell to 1-3, a 40-3 home defeat to Georgia Southern. Cardinals rushed for only 37 yards on 28 carries. They surrendered 6 yards per rush. The Eagles with 363 passing yards on 50 attempts. Freshman Caden Simonza hit on 11-23 for 123 yards and 2 touchdowns. Western Michigan is 1-3 after their 49-31 road defeat at Toledo. Broncos allowed 35 points in the second half. They rushed for 230 yards on 55 carries. Western Michigan allowed 269 yards running to the Rockets with 228 passing yards on 24 attempts. Trayson Bourget hit on 12 of 22 for 160 yards and an interception. He averaged 7.3 yards per pass attempt. Each team committed 4 turnovers. I just prefer Bourget over this freshman Simonza here. Broncos averaging 46 rush attempts per game and gaining 4.3 yards a carry. Ball State is surrendering 4.5 yards per rush to their opponents. Play here, Western Michigan minus the 1. Bowling Green and Georgia Tech college football pick. Here we go. Action for Saturday. Bowling Green fell to 1-3 with their 38-7 home defeat to Ohio Bobcats. Falcons fell behind 31-zip at the half. The team rushed for 4.5 yards a carry. They held the Bobcats to just over 3 yards per rush with 201 passing yards on 19 attempts. Bowling Green had a -3 turnover margin with 2 fumbles returned for Ohio touchdowns. Connor Bazelak hit on 17 of 32 for 104 yards with 2 interceptions. They averaged only 3.3 yards per attempt. Georgia Tech 2-2 after their 30-16 road win at Wake Forest. Yellow Jackets rushed for 158 yards. They surrendered 224 yards rushing to the Demon Deacons with 162 passing yards on 30 attempts. Haynes King completed 16 of 27 for 222 yards with 2 touchdowns and an interception. He averaged 8.2 yards per attempt and had 53 rushing yards. Falcons sit 119th in total offense this year with struggles in both the run and passing game. Yellow Jackets defense 118th in the nation by allowing 425 yards a game. They allow 5.7 yards per rush and 7.6 yards per pass attempt. Georgia Tech 19th in total offense behind 480 yards a game average. The Yellow Jackets offense should be able to generate offense against this MAC defense behind King. Georgia Tech leaky defense makes it difficult to lay over 3 touchdowns. Play here, Bowling Green and Georgia Tech over 52.5. Illinois and Purdue college football pick. Here we go for action on Saturday. Illinois 2-2 on the year. A 23-17 home victory to FAU. Final Illini overcame a 10-zip deficit after 1 quarter. They rushed for 207 yards. On defense, they limited the Owls' run game to 4 yards per attempt and allowed 256 yards passing on 49 attempts. Luke Altmaier hit on 25 of 36 for 303 yards with a touchdown. He averaged 8.4 yards per attempt and had a rushing touchdown. Purdue fell to 1-3 after a 38-17 home defeat to Wisconsin. Boilermakers rushed for 194 yards. They surrendered 195 yards on the ground. The Badgers with 193 passing on 28 attempts. Hudson Card hit on 21 of 38 for 202 yards, 2 interceptions, as well as a lost fumble. He averaged just 5.3 yards per attempt and had 54 yards rushing with a touchdown. Purdue has won 6 of 7 against Illinois. Final line sits 116th in total defense by allowing 4.7 yards per rush. Boilermakers' ability to move the ball on the Badgers is encouraging. Play Purdue here at a pick'em. Missouri versus Vanderbilt college football pick. Here we go for Saturday. Missouri moves to 4-0, a 34-27 home victory to Memphis. Missouri rushed for 201 yards. They held the Memphis under 3 yards a carry, but 316 passing yards on 47 attempts. Brady Cook, 18 of 25 for 341 yards and 2 touchdowns. He averaged 13.5 yards per pass attempt. But Cook is questionable and will likely be a game-time decision here. Sam Horn is the backup, went 3 of 5 for 54 yards with a touchdown and pick in mop-up duty against South Dakota, an FCS school. Vanderbilt fell to 2-3, a 45-28 home defeat to Kentucky. Commodores were down 21-zip after one quarter. The team rushed for 3.5 yards a carry. They surrendered 160 rushing yards to the Wildcats with 205 passing yards on 29 attempts. A.J. Swan, 16 of 40 for 189 yards and 3 interceptions. He averaged just 4.7 yards per pass attempt. Swan is questionable with an elbow injury. Some are reporting closer to doubtful. Senior Ken Seals is a backup. He's seen work. He has seen work here in 20 games in his college career at Vanderbilt. He has been plagued, though, by interceptions, throwing a total of 18 in 17 games in 2020 and 2021. He saw relief work last week, hitting 4 of 7 for 42 yards and a touchdown against Kentucky. Vanderbilt covered the past 2 in this series. This is the first true road game for Missouri. Commodores has shown the ability to move football through the air, averaging 277 yards a game and 7.5 yards per pass attempt. Opponents are completing 63% of their passes on the Tigers' defense. Concerned about Horn starting this game for Missouri in this road spot. At least Seal has experience. Player Vanderbilt plus 13.5. New Mexico and Wyoming college football pick for action on Saturday. New Mexico 2-2 after a 34-31 road overtime win at UMass. Lobos rushed for 3.5 yards per attempt. They did allow 197 yards rushing to the Minutemen with 298 passing yards on 25 attempts. Dylan Hopkins completed 9 of 17 for 192 yards and a touchdown. He averaged 11.3 yards per pass attempt and had a rushing touchdown. Wyoming improved to 3-1. A 22-19 home victory at Appalachian State. The Cowboys rushed for 177 yards with poor pass production. They surrendered 217 rushing yards to the Mountaineers with 200 yards passing on 40 attempts. Wyoming overcame a 19-7 deficit with 2 touchdowns in the final 3.5 minutes. The game winner came on a blocked field goal attempt for a touchdown. Andrew Peasley, returning from injury, 5 of 15 here for 31 yards and an interception. He averaged 2.1 yards per attempt there. Lobos had been held to 17 or fewer points in 8 straight games against FBS opponents until last week. You know what? Peasley's health a concern based on his play from last week. Not confident with the Lobos offense to generate points. This under is 6-0 in their past 6 meeting. Play here New Mexico and Wyoming under 42. LSU and Ole Miss college football pick for action on Saturday. LSU improved to 3-1, a 34-31 home victory at Arkansas. Tigers rushed for 189 yards. They allowed just under 4 yards a carry to the Razorbacks with 289 yards passing on 31 attempts. Jane Daniels, 20 of 29 for 320 yards with 4 touchdowns and an interception. He averaged 11 yards per pass attempt and rushed for 36 yards. Ole Miss fell to 3-1, a 24-10 road defeat at Alabama. Rebels rushed for under 2 yards a carry. The other Crimson tied to nearly 3 yards per rush with 225 yards passing on 21 attempts. Jackson Dart, 20 of 35 for 244 yards and an interception. He averaged 7 yards per attempt and had a rushing touchdown. The Tigers have won 6 of 7 against the Rebels, including last year's 45-20 game by piling up 500 yards of offense. LSU, 7th in the nation in total offense by averaging 530 yards a game, but they are struggling in pass defense. Rebels are posting 470 yards a game with huge plays in the passing game. Tigers have played the tougher schedule. Play here LSU minus 2.5. Oregon and Stanford college football pick for Saturday. Oregon moved to 4-0, a 42-6 home victory to Colorado. Ducks built that 35-zip lead at the half. They rushed for 240 yards. The team held the Buffs to 40 rushing yards with 159 yards passing on 33 attempts. Bo Nix, 28 of 33 for 276 yards with 3 touchdowns and an interception. He averaged 8.4 yards per pass attempt and had a rushing touchdown. Stanford fell to 1-3, a 21-20 home defeat to Arizona. Cardinals rushed for over 3 yards a carry. They surrendered 145 yards rushing to the Wildcats with 204 passing on 30 attempts. Ashton Daniels, 14 of 26 for 198 yards, 7.6 yards per pass attempt. He took 5 sacks. This is an inexperienced Stanford team with 3 starters returned on offense and defense. Ducks sit second in the nation in total offense, averaging 571 yards a game. Stanford 128th in total defense, giving up 430 yards a game. Ducks have covered 3 of 4 against the Cardinal. Play here, Oregon minus 27. Boise State and Memphis. College football pick for Saturday. Boise State improved to 2-2. A 34-31 road victory to San Diego State. Broncos rushed for 241 yards. They held the Aztecs to 4.1 yards per rush with 273 yards passing on 23 attempts. Taylor Green, 12 of 22, 162 yards and a touchdown. He averaged 7.4 yards per attempt with 25 yards rushing and a touchdown. Memphis 3-1 on the year. A 34-27 road defeat to the Missouri Tigers. Memphis rushed for under 3 yards a carry. They surrendered 201 yards passing on the ground in Missouri with 341 passing on 25 attempts. Seth Hennigan, 31 of 47, 316 yards with 3 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. He averaged 6.7 yards per attempt. Boise State senior running back George Holani missed the past 3 games and is questionable. Broncos have slipped to 121st in the nation in total defense. They're allowing 430 yards a game, 9.8 yards per pass attempt. Tigers have an experienced quarterback that is completing 69% of their passes at a high volume of attempts. Memphis runs well enough at that 4.4 yards to carry. Tigers hold opponents to 324 yards a game. Play here, Memphis minus 3.5. Coastal Carolina and Georgia Southern. College football pick for action on Saturday. Coastal Carolina fell to 2-2, a 30-17 home defeat to Georgia State. The Chanticleers rushed for over 4 yards at carry. They surrendered 182 yards passing to the Panthers with 182 yards rushing to the Panthers with 191 yards passing on 27 attempts. Grayson McCall, 26 of 42 for 295 yards with a touchdown. He averaged 7 yards per attempt. Georgia Southern improved to 3-1, a 40-3 road victory at Ball State. Eagles rushed for 167 yards. They limited the Cardinals to 37 rushing yards with 160 passing on 29 attempts. Tulsa transferred Davis Brin, 34 of 46 for 344 yards and 4 touchdowns. The Eagles sit 18th in the nation in total offense by averaging 480 yards a game. But Coastal Carolina does move the football for 415 yards, 281 of it passing. Chanticleers have won 4 straight against the Eagles, and McCall, very capable quarterback. Play here, Coastal Carolina plus the 6.5. East Carolina and Rice. College football pick. Here we go. Saturday. East Carolina improved to 1-3, a 44-0 home victory to FCS Gardner-Webb. Losses came at home to App State and Michigan with a home loss by 18 here to Marshall. Alex Finn in his FBS games hitting 52% of his passes with no touchdowns, 4 picks. He averaged 5.4 yards per attempt. He's splitting time with Mason Garcia, who's completing just 53% of his passes, a touchdown and interception. He's averaging just 3.4 yards per pass attempt. Rice, they fell to 2-2, 42-29 road defeat to USF. Alice rushed for 1 yard in that game on 20 carries. They surrendered 162 rushing yards to the Bulls with 435 yards passing on 29 attempts. JT Daniels, 27 of 40 for 432 yards with 3 touchdowns. He averaged nearly 11 yards per pass attempt. Daniels exited the game with an injury, questionable here. He missed practice on Monday. AJ Padgett in relief last week, 7 of 10 for 59 yards with a touchdown. That's 5.9 yards per pass attempt. We saw work in 3 games last year, a 50% completion rate, 8.2 yards per pass attempt, passing for 5 touchdowns and an interception. Pirates, inexperienced on offense, just 4 starters came back. ECU, 130th in the nation in total offense. Rice sits 60th in total offense, getting production from a passing game that's averaging 324 yards a game, 9.5 yards per pass attempt. Play here will be on Rice at minus the 3.5. Hawaii and UNLV. College football pick Saturday. Hawaii improved to 2-3, a 20-17 home victory to New Mexico State. Warriors overcame that 17-3 halftime deficit. They rushed for 3.3 yards a carry. UNLV surrendered 180 yards rushing to New Mexico State with 155 yards passing on 15 attempts. Braden Shager in the game, 26 of 38, 245 yards and a touchdown. He averaged 6.4 yards per attempt. UNLV improved to 3-1. 45-28 road win at UTEP. Rebels rushed for 307 yards for over 6 yards a carry. They limited the Miners to less than 3 yards a carry with 225 yards passing on 31 attempts. Quarterback Doug Brumfield missed the game due to an injury. He remains questionable with a little bit of progress. Jaden Maiva, 15 of 27 for 190 yards with an interception. He averaged 7 yards per pass attempt with 28 rushing yards. UNLV picked off 3 passes and finished with a +2 turnover margin. Due respect that 40 points the Rebels put up at home to Vanderbilt. The Warriors sit 108th in the nation in total defense. Rebels' run game having success with 4.8 yards a carry. Hawaii was able to put up 28 on the road to Vanderbilt. UNLV 104th in the nation in total defense are allowing 409 yards a game. Play here with Hawaii and UNLV over 59.5. Notre Dame and Duke. College football pick for action on Saturday. Notre Dame fell to 4-1, a 17-14 home defeat to Ohio State. By an Irish rush for 176 yards in the game. They allowed 126 yards on the ground. The Buckeyes for nearly 5 yards a carry. Fighting Irish allowed 240 yards passing to Ohio State on 38 attempts. Sam Hartman, 17 of 25 for 175 yards and a touchdown. He averaged 7 yards per pass attempt. Notre Dame allowed a 1-yard rushing touchdown in the closing seconds in defeat. Duke 4-0, a 41-7 road win at Connecticut. Blue Devils averaged less than 3 yards a carry. They limit the Huskies to 89 rushing yards with 114 passing on 28 attempts. Riley Leonard, 23 of 34 for 248 yards and a touchdown. He averaged 7.3 yards per attempt and had a rushing touchdown. Notre Dame's offense 20th in the nation by averaging 477 yards a game. They are 7th in total defense. Duke has defended well, sitting 16th in college football by allowing 276 yards a game. They average 425 offensive yards per game. Notre Dame has a road win at NC State by 21, producing 456 yards. Other than Clemson, the Blue Devils have played a relatively easy schedule, but man, you got to respect that 28-7 home win to Clemson, and for Duke here to keep this one close. Play here Duke plus 5.5. Iowa State and Oklahoma. College football pick for action on Saturday. Iowa State improved to 2-2, a 34-27 home victory at Oklahoma State Cowboys. Cyclones rushed for just under 3 yards a carry in the game. They surrendered 131 yards to the Cowboys on the ground with over 4 or 5 yards per rush and allowed 278 passing yards on 48 attempts. Rocco Beck, 27 of 38 passing for 348 yards and 3 touchdowns. He averaged 9.2 yards per attempt. Iowa State had a +2 turnover margin. Oklahoma 4-0 after their 20-6 road victory to Cincinnati. Sooners rushed for 3 yards a carry. They allowed 141 rushing yards to the Bearcats with 235 yards passing on 42 attempts. Dylan Gabriel, 26 of 38 for 322 yards and a touchdown. He averaged 8.5 yards per pass attempt and had a rushing touchdown. Iowa State 121st in total offense. Sooners defense has been outstanding, holding teams to 2.7 yards per rush and only 6.1 yards per pass attempt. Iowa State rushes for less than 3 yards a carry. Oklahoma 10th in total offense, averaging 507 yards a game, and they're doing this with still playing great defense here, unlike in years past. Sooners have won and covered 3 straight against the Cyclones. Sooners have covered all 4 games this year. Play here Oklahoma minus 18.5. Southern Miss and Texas State college football pick for Saturday. Texas State improved to 3-1, a 35-24 home victory to Nevada. Bobcats overcame a 17-zip deficit at the half. They rushed for 276 yards. Texas State allowed 159 yards rushing to the Wolfpack with 194 passing on 33 attempts. TJ Finley, 25 of 31 passing for 295 yards with 2 touchdowns and an interception. The LSU Auburn transfer averaged 9.5 yards per pass attempt. Interception was returned, 98 yards for Nevada touchdown in this game. Southern Miss 1-3 after their 44-37 road defeat to Arkansas State Red Wolves. Golden Eagles ran for 234 yards. They allowed 192 yards rushing to the Arkansas State with 233 passing on 21 attempts. Billy Wiles, 20 of 36 for 215 yards and 2 touchdowns. Also threw 2 picks in the game. He averaged just 6 yards per pass attempt. Bobcats 15th in the nation in total offense, averaging 485 yards a game. They're rushing for 5.9 yards a carry. Southern Miss is giving up 5.5 yards per rush. Bobcats make big plays in the passing game. 13.2 yards per completion, 9.3 yards per attempt. Golden Eagles, they're giving up big plays in the passing game, allowing 15.5 yards per completion, 8.3 yards per attempt. Southern Miss just 103rd of the nation in total offense. Poor results in the run and pass play here. Texas State minus the 5.5. Troy and Georgia State college football pick for Saturday. Troy improved to 2-2 with their 27-24 home victory to Western Kentucky. Trojans rushed for 172 yards. They limited the Hilltoppers to 20 rushing yards with 268 yards passing on 39 attempts. They had 3 fumbles and took 2 away from WKU. Gunnar Watson, 22 of 35 for 349 yards and a touchdown. He averaged 10 yards per pass attempt. Georgia State improved to 4-0. A 30-17 road win at Coastal Carolina. Panthers ran for 182 yards. They allowed only 4 yards per rush to the Chanticleers with 295 yards passing on 42 attempts. Darren Granger completed 15 of 26 for 191 yards with a touchdown. He averaged 7.3 yards per attempt and had a rushing touchdown with 43 yards. Georgia State 99th in total defense, allowing 401 yards per game and 312 yards passing. Panthers give up big plays in the passing game by allowing 13 yards per completion, 8 yards per pass attempt. These are 2 good offensive teams, but the Trojans get the check mark with better defense. Play here, Troy -1. Charlotte and SMU college football pick for action on Saturday. Charlotte fell to 1-3, a 22-7 road defeat to Florida Gators. 49ers gained under 3 yards at carry on the ground. They held Florida 4 yards per rush with 259 yards passing on 23 attempts. Charlotte a -2 turnover margin in the game. Jalen Jones 11 of 16 passing for 111 yards, 6.9 yards per rush. He ran for 65 yards and a touchdown. SMU 2-2, a 34-17 road defeat to TCU. Mustangs rushed for 158 yards. They surrendered 192 yards rushing to the Horned Frogs with 265 passing on 33 attempts. The team had a -2 turnover margin. Preston Stone hit on 16 of 35 for 258 yards and 2 interceptions. Stone averaged 7.4 yards per pass attempt. Charlotte sits 123rd in the total offense and struggling to protect the quarterback. The Mustangs sit 36th in total defense and have gone under in all games facing FBS opponents. Now, the 49ers aren't an experienced offensive team with 4 starters back. Play here will be on Charlotte and SMU under 53.5. Washington versus Arizona college football pick for Saturday. Washington improved to 4-0, a 59-32 home victory to California. The Huskies were up 35-12 at the half. They rushed for 140 yards. Washington limited Cal to 4 yards per run with 367 passing yards on 46 attempts. Michael Penix completed 19 of 25 for 304 yards and 4 touchdowns. He also had a pick in the game. He averaged 12.2 yards per pass attempt. Washington picked off 3 passes, returned 1 for a touchdown, also had a punt return for a touchdown. Arizona 3-1 after their 21-20 road win at Stanford. Wildcats rushed for 145 yards. They held Stanford to 3 yards at carry with 246 yards passing on 32 attempts. Jane DeLora hit on 14 of 26 for 157 yards and a touchdown. He averaged 6 yards per pass attempt and had a rushing touchdown. DeLora is a game-time decision as he was struck with a calf injury in the third quarter. Noah Fafita, 4 of 4 in relief for 47 yards, posting 12 yards per pass attempt. He saw limited work in his freshman season last year. DeLora injury a massive concern as Fafita has thrown 27 passes in 2 years. Play here Washington minus the 18.5. West Virginia and TCU college football pick here for action on Saturday. West Virginia improved here to 3-1, a 20-13 home victory to Texas Tech. Mountaineers rushed for 157 yards. They allowed the Red Raiders 160 rushing yards with 161 yards passing on 43 attempts. Garrett Green missed the game against Texas Tech with a foot injury and is questionable. Backup Nico Markel went 12 of 21 for 78 yards and a touchdown and 2 interceptions. He averaged only 3.7 yards per pass attempt with 72 rushing yards. TCU improved to 3-1, a 34-17 home victory to SMU. Horned Frogs rushed for 192 yards. They held SMU to 4 yards at carry with 258 passing yards on 35 attempts. TCU held a +2 turnover margin. Chandler Morris, 23 of 32 for 261 yards with 3 touchdowns. He averaged 8.2 yards per attempt and ran for 38 yards. Morris is rushing for 6.3 yards at carry this season. Horned Frogs won last year's meeting 41-31 on the road behind 495 yards. The Mountaineers sit 119th in passing offense. TCU 12th in total offense in the nation by averaging 501 yards a game. They rushed for 4.9 yards at carry and averaged 8.1 yards per pass attempt. Mountaineers were hammered in their lone road game, losing 38-15. The issue is with the Mountaineers offense keeping up with this quarterback situation. Play here will be TCU minus 14. South Carolina and Tennessee college football pick here for Saturday. South Carolina improved to 2-2 after that 37-30 home victory to Mississippi State. Bulldogs. The Gamecocks rushed for 144 yards. They held Mississippi State to 32 rushing yards with 487 passing on 48 attempts. Spencer Rattler completed 18 of 20 for 288 yards, 3 touchdowns. He averaged 14.4 yards per pass attempt and rushed for 43 yards. Tennessee 3-1, a 45-14 home victory to UTSA. Volunteers built that 31-0 lead at the half. They rushed for 303 yards. They limited Roadrunners to 4.2 yards per rush with 231 yards passing on 41 attempts. Tennessee had a +2 turnover margin. Joe Milton, 18 of 31 for 209 yards with 2 touchdowns and 6.7 yards per pass attempt. He rushed for 89 yards and a touchdown. Vols lead running back Wright questionable as the starting receiver Caton. Gamecocks won last year's meeting 63-28 at home with 606 yards, 453 passing. Vols rode up 507 yards last year, and that 453 yards passing as well. South Carolina is 8th in the nation in passing offense behind Rattler. Volunteers are averaging 68.5% completion rate to opponents. They're allowing that, I should say, not hitting. They're allowing that. Tennessee running for 6.2 yards a carry and have high volume passing attack. Gamecocks giving up really big plays in the passing game, allowing 12.6 yards per completion, 8.5 yards per pass attempt. Play here, South Carolina and Tennessee over 60. Pittsburgh and Virginia Tech college a football pick. Here we go on Saturday. Pittsburgh 1-3 after a 41-24 home defeat to North Carolina. Panthers rushed for over 4 yards a carry. They limited the Tar Heels to under 2 yards per rush, but 296 passing yards on 30 attempts. Bill Jurkovich, 11 of 15 passing for 109 yards. He averaged 7.3 yards per pass attempt. He exited the game last week and is questionable here with only play if healthy. Christian Villo, 7 of 18 passing for 85 yards, 2 interceptions. He averaged just 4.7 yards per attempt. Pitt had a -3 turnover margin in the game. Virginia Tech 1-3, a 24-17 road defeat at Marshall. They've lost 8 of 10 dating to last year. The Hokies rushed for 184 yards. They surrendered 214 rushing yards to the Thundering Herd with 166 passing on 27 attempts. Grant Wells missed the past 2 games with an ankle injury, and is questionable here. Kyron Jones hit on 19 of 35 for 160 yards. He averaged just 4.6 yards per pass attempt, but rushed for 75 yards and 2 touchdowns. Pitt won and covered 4 of 5 against Virginia Tech. Hokies run defense very poor by allowing 5.3 yards a carry, ranking third in the nation. Hokies have the 110th ranked offense, and Pittsburgh is ranked 12th nationally on the defensive end. Hokies rushed for only 3.3 yards a carry. Play here, Pittsburgh -2.5. Michigan State and Iowa college football pick here for Saturday. Michigan State fell to 2-2 after that 31-9 home defeat here to the Maryland Terrapins. The Spartans rushed for over 3 yards a carry. They did surrender 4.5 yards per rush to the Terrapins with 223 passing yards on 36 attempts. Noah Kim hit on 18 of 33 for 190 yards with a touchdown and 2 interceptions. He averaged 5.8 yards per attempt. Kim was benched but will start the game. The Spartans had a -4 turnover margin. Iowa fell to 3-1. A 31-zip road defeat to Penn State. Hawkeyes rushed for only 20 yards. They allowed 215 yards rushing to the Nittany Lions with 182 passing yardage on 40 attempts. Iowa had a -4 turnover margin on 4 lost fumbles. Cade McNamara went 5 of 14 for 42 yards. He averaged just 3 yards per pass attempt. Hawkeyes top running back Caleb Johnson is out. Iowa has the 131st ranked offense in college football. They rushed for 3.8 yards a carry and averaged 5.5 yards per pass attempt. Spartans defend the run well, limiting opponents to 3.8 yards a carry. Michigan State does a better job of moving the football. Hawkeyes had trouble separating at home against a down Utah State team, missing the cover in a 10-point home win. Play here, Michigan State +12.5. San Diego State and Air Force college football pick here for Saturday. San Diego State 2-3 after a 34-31 home defeat to Boise State. Aztecs rushed for just over 4 yards a carry. They surrendered 241 yards rushing to the Broncos with 162 passing yards on 22 attempts. San Diego State had a -2 turnover margin. Jalen Maiden hit on 16 of 22 for 241 yards with a touchdown. He rushed for 85 yards and a score. Air Force 4-0 following their 45-20 road win at San Jose State. Falcons have won 9 straight dating back to last year. They outscored the Spartans 28-zip in the second half. The team rushed for 400 yards on 25 carries. Falcons allowed 115 yards rushing to San Jose State with 230 passing on 35 attempts. Zach Lawyer hit on 2 of 2 passes for 28 yards. He rushed for 39 yards in his triple option system. Air Force won last year's meeting 13-3 on the road. Aztecs have faced 2 Power 5 teams. Falcons' strength of schedule a bit weak. Maiden showed improvement in the passing game against Boise State, but the Aztecs' defense allowing 5.2 yards per rush. Air Force running for 5.4 yards a carry. San Diego State 122nd in the nation in total defense. Play here Air Force -10.5. Nevada versus Fresno State. College football pick for Saturday. Nevada 0-4 after that 35-24 road defeat at Texas State. Wolfpack blew a 17-zip lead at the half. Nevada rushed for 159 yards. They allowed 276 yards rushing to the Bobcats with 298 passing on 45 attempts. Each team had 3 turnovers. Brendan Lewis completed 21 of 32 passes for 151 yards and an interception. He averaged 4.7 yards per pass attempt and rushed for 89 yards. Fresno State improved to 4-0. A 53-10 home victory to Kent. Bulldogs rushed for 143 yards. They held the Golden Flashes to 3.5 yards a carry with 102 passing yards on 15 attempts. Mikey Keene, 24 of 31 for 325 yards with 4 touchdowns. He averaged 10.5 yards per pass attempt. Wolfpack sit 120th in the nation in total offense. Bulldogs 22nd in college football in total defense and moved the football for 425 yards a game. Nevada 132nd in total defense by allowing 537 yards a game. They allow 6 yards per rush and nearly 12 yards per pass attempt. Play here Fresno State -24.5. Alabama versus Mississippi State. College football pick for Saturday. Alabama improved to 3-1, a 24-10 home victory at Ole Miss. Clemson Tide rushed for 131 yards. They limited the Rebels to under 2 yards a carry with 245 yards passing on 26 attempts. Jalen Monroe hit on 17 of 21 passes for 225 yards with a touchdown and an interception. He averaged about 11 yards per pass attempt and rushed for 28 yards. Mississippi State fell to 2-2, a 37-30 road defeat to South Carolina. Bulldogs rushed for only 32 yards. They allowed the Gamecocks 144 rushing yards with 288 passing on 20 attempts. Will Rogers completed 30 of 48 for 487 yards with a touchdown and interception. He averaged 10 yards per pass attempt. Bulldogs pass defense struggling as they surrendered 74% completion rate, 8.5 yards per pass attempt. Alabama makes big plays in the passing game with 14 yards per completed pass, 8.6 yards per attempt. Alabama is still strong defensively, holding opponents to 307 yards a game, 3 yards per rush, and 5.9 yards per pass attempt. Back-to-back losses for Mississippi State with a 27-point home defeat to LSU. Play here Alabama -14.5. Appalachian State and UL Monroe. College football pick for action on Saturday. Appalachian State fell to 2-2 with their 22-19 road defeat to Wyoming. Mountaineers rushed for 217 yards. They surrendered 177 yards rushing to the Cowboys with only 31 passing on 15 attempts. Quarterback Ryan Berger missed the past 3 games with a finger injury, and is questionable here. Joey Aguilar hit on 22 of 40 for 200 yards with an interception. He averaged 5 yards per pass and rushed for 20 yards. Mountaineers lost on a 62-yard block field goal return with under 2 minutes left. UL Monroe fell to 2-1, a 47-3 road defeat here at Texas A&M 2 weeks ago. They come off the bye week here. The Warhawks rushed for over 4 yards a carry. They allowed 158 yards rushing to the Aggies with 399 passing on 40 attempts. Jael Wright hit on 6 of 15 for 95 yards. He averaged 6.3 yards per pass attempt and had 34 rushing yards. Wright is playing due to the collarbone injury to starter Hunter Herring. UL Monroe is 124th in total offense, averaging 302 yards a game. They sit near the bottom of college football in every key passing category. But UL Monroe is rushing for 6 yards a carry, and the Mountaineers are giving up 5.7 yards per rush. And App State is struggling with their backup quarterback in the passing game. Play here UL Monroe +13.5. All right, that was our college football pick show here for Saturday. We got you all 49. Before we let you go, reminder, subscribe to our YouTube channel. We have free college football picks updated all season long. Free picks every day from all the major sports like NFL, Major League Baseball, Hockey and basketball not too far away. Of course, lots of live shows on our channel with lots of free picks, so make sure to subscribe. And also, if you would support our channel, give us that like, that thumbs up. We greatly appreciate it. And remember, visit our site, Tony'sPicks.com, for our best plays. Our premium picks are there. Use that promo code TonyT at checkout. You'll save that 20% off. All right, I'm Tony T. We'll have more picks throughout the day. I'm Tony T. We'll talk to you guys later.